Hi guys and welcome to my thoughts on One Piece episode 764. Yeah? And this episode rounds off the flashback or the story about what happened to Sanji. And I don't know how I feel about all this, because in general it was handled really well, I feel like. I really liked the music they chose in this episode for a lot of the things. I really enjoyed, especially like all the Sanji stuff. The music was just really emotional, and it played right into a kind of theme we had going, like Sanji being in agony, Sanji being in charge, and Sanji saying farewell to them, and it was all really nice. The thing that I was like a bit about was the action. It looked a little weird and stiff, and like it didn't work all that well. It kind of took me out of the episode, but then again, we kind of gone past the moments that I was really into, and then after the action we had that moment of Sanji kind of saying goodbye, I'm just gonna take care of this my own, which I thought was handled really well. And I really liked the scenes where we had the Sanji saying goodbye, and then you had the door closing and you could the black comes in, and then the music just takes over, and you have Chopper, Brook, and Nami crying, and that really sad music in the background, and Nami running after him. I thought that was amazingly well done. That was really touching. But yeah, I think like this scene kind of speaks for itself. I don't know what else to say than it was good, except the action was a little weird. But I do like that this kind of sets up that Sanji isn't really going into this without a plan. Like, he would probably have said something more if he like decided just to go off without some sort of plan, because I think it was one of them said, Chopper, someone said that even if Sanji was trying to get out of this, in the end, if he couldn't, there was always the like backup plan of him just cutting himself off from the crew, and in that way he would then get married and leave the crew, but the others would at the very least be safe. But that means that that's just plan B or plan C or plan D. He's thought of something before that, because of course Sanji wouldn't want to leave the crew. Why would he? And as they said, he was very clear about not wanting the strawhats to work for Big Mom, and he very quickly declined when he thought that, okay, this could split us apart, because that's obviously not something that we want. And Sanji also has knowledge in the back of his mind that, okay, we have Kaido coming after us, because as Zoro makes very clear in a very annoying way, they don't actually have the time to deal with Sanji's problem, because they actually have a Yonko coming after them. And going after Sanji means going after a second Yonko, and that's not really optimal, because yes, they have a alliance with Law, but that's only for Kaido, and in the grand scheme of things, they are only 8 people at this moment, because they can't really account for Sanji. And if they do have to take on Kaido at the same time, then they either need to split up, which is not good, or they have to let Sanji deal with this problem alone, which also is not good, or they have to all go to Big Mom, which is also not good. Like, they are in kind of a big problem here, because they have now potentially 2 really big enemies, and taking out one of them in itself is risky, but taking on 2 is not good. And while they could have possibly maybe resolved this issue with Big Mom quietly, safely, diplomatically, as Usopp reminds us all, Luffy has already picked a fight with Big Mom, so maybe she'd be a bit more reluctant to just let Sanji out of this if Luffy was to kindly ask, could you please not marry your daughter to my crewmate? And of course, Luffy does point out, well, if she decides to get married, he could just like bring her to the crew, then we'd have a new Nakama, and that's all great. But Brooks reminds him that that's not really what they can do, because if Sanji gets married to Pudding, then they will automatically be a part or underlings of Big Mom, unless Sanji were to cut himself off, which he would, because he'd rather have him suffer alone than have all of them suffer with him, because that's the kind of guy Sanji is. He's very kind, he's very self-sacrificial, as I've said so many times before, but if you're an anime only, you probably haven't heard me say that. What I find really nice about this episode as well is that we do have all these, we have all the Straw Hats interact, and we haven't had that in a long time, and not only are they interacting, but they are discussing internal Straw Hat problems, which of course is what to do with Sanji, and we have all of these opinions because like, we are all in the we should probably go after Sanji camp, but it's important to hear what someone like Zoro has to say as well, because Kaido is a big problem. That's what our goal has been for ever since we entered the New World. Like, story-wise, we've been building up to fighting Kaido ever since we landed on Punk Hazard 5 years ago or whatever. Like, it's been a really, really... Was it 5? It must have been 5 years ago, because that's when I started One Piece. I caught up in Punk Hazard right when we started that arc. I think that's 5 or 5.5 years ago or something, so that's a long, long time ago. That was a sideline there. Either way. But yeah, I just in general really like the interactions we had, and also I really liked we get more emphasis on just like the kindness of the Straw Hats. I've talked about this before, how Nami, Chopper, Brook, and Sanji are just by default the kindest people there, and even when they are in such a bad situation with Sanji having been taken away from them, they are still like, no, we don't want to involve the Minks in this situation because this is our problem, kind of like what Sanji did. Like, they're not aware of the fact that they're doing exactly what Sanji did. And of course what Sanji did is a little bit worse, because he's like, no, don't help me, because they're actually crewmates with the Minks. They're not like, they don't have that close of a bond, so they wouldn't allow themselves to let the Minks help them and just like get into another disaster after what just happened to them. But it's still kind of the same, like, no, it's just our problem, you don't have to bother with it. And we also have like that kind of thing from Brook, like Sanji had already made up his mind. I think Nami said that as well. As soon as he wrote that letter, he had made up his mind of not coming back until he had either resolved this or he had completely failed and then left the crew. That's kind of Sanji's situation. Either he'll deal with it or he won't, and if he doesn't, then that's a problem, because they can't have Sanji leaving a crew. Like, first of all, he's one of the first members there. Like, generally he's a Straw Hat. Straw Hats don't leave the Straw Hat crew. We've seen this multiple times. People just don't get to leave. It doesn't go that way. You're there until you die, and even then, like, but Sanji is a very important asset because he's their chef, and he's one of their biggest fighters, and he's a very intelligent person. Multiple times Sanji saves them by being a smart character, and having Sanji not be there is gonna it's gonna disrupt the crew, because they lose a core member, they lose an important role. Being a chef is important. They don't have anyone like Sanji. Like, he's not only the chef, he makes sure that they get the right food, and he makes sure they have enough food, he rations their food, he makes sure that they won't starve to death. They have fucking Luffy, they have Zoro, they have all these people who have special needs, and he's been working with them for so long, and having to find a replacement for Sanji would be really hard. On top of that, he's had all the things he learned at Momori Island or Kawabaki Kingdom, where he learned how to just like make them stronger through his food, and we haven't really seen that in action. We've seen him make one of the recipes at Punk Hazard, but we haven't really seen the rest of them, of the 99 recipes there are. So it's just like, of course Sanji won't leave the crew, but just like the thought of it itself is really like, it won't work. Like, their crew will be destroyed if he's not there, just fundamentally, because as a pirate crew, you can't work without a chef, and they can't work without strong fighters. Sanji's one of the stronger fighters, and it won't work. And then they're all the emotional stuff, because Sanji has strong bonds with a lot of the crew members, and it's just, yeah. You already all know all this. This is why I really like this dilemma, because this is very different from when Nami tried to leave, from when Usopp left, and from when Robin tried to leave, because while both Robin and Nami kind of left because they had like other things to deal with, like Nami, she had Arlong, and Robin had the world. this situation is kind of different because Sanji went with the intentions of coming back. So their dilemma is not only in can we bring Sanji back, the dilemma is in should we trust Sanji to deal with this alone, because he did say, I'm gonna come back, I'm just gonna go deal with this and then I'm gonna come back to you. But do they trust that they can, like, that Sanji can deal with the threat of Big Mom and this mysterious Beansmoke family? So there's that. But I think I want to stop talking about Sanji now. A few other things that I really liked. I like to see a more like vulnerable side of Capone, because he's been like this really awesome, cool mafia boss up until now, but he was really fucking scared of Nekomamushi, which should tell us something about how strong he is. And I really like the moments with Nekomamushi where he goes from being like this ruler and really strong warrior to seeing whatever it was, catnip or whatever, and just being like, oh my god! And I like how varied his voice actor is. Like, I almost feel like it was a different voice actor, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't, because, well, yeah. It was really nice to see, like, the range that his voice actor has and how it fits all the different kind of roles that Nekomamushi has, because he's a very different character from time to time, when he's serious, when he's, like, kitty cat mode and all of these things, so that was really nice. And lastly, we still have Peckhams, who's still on the island because he was shot by Capone, even though he of course denied it. It was really fun when Capone made himself like a tank and then just kind of rolled away. I thought that was really fun, but that's like another topic. But yeah, they have Peckhams now, so they're of course gonna question him because he has some insider knowledge, because we still don't know everything there is to know about Sanji's situation. Like, we know he's engaged, a part of an arranged marriage. The Beansmokes are behind this, as well as Big Mom, but we don't know, like, we don't have the full picture at this moment, and Peckhams, being an insider, might have knowledge, and he can also lead them to Whole Cake Island in the event that one or more of them should go to Whole Cake Island. So yeah, I think that is pretty much what happened in this episode, and my thoughts on it generally. The preview for next episode seemed both interesting and not so much. I mean, it generally looked interesting, but the quality in the art looked like it had dropped. Just looking at Robin in the next episode, I'm just gonna be really sad, I feel like. But it's gonna be okay. I know that we're gonna have a lot of Nekomamushi. We're gonna have the song, finally. I kind of expected that a few episodes ago, but now we're gonna get it finally in the next episode, so I'm really happy about that, because I want to hear Brooke sing more. I really like his voice. Glad he's their musician. And yeah, I think that is it. If you liked anything that I had to say, please leave a thumbs up on the video. Leave in the comments below what you thought of this episode, and if you're an anime only, leave your suggestions as to what maybe could happen later on. And if you want more of me, you can subscribe, and until next time, bye!